Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition, the first edition in 2025 of the Expert Series. And I'm Joe Osamendi, your host, with my good friend and colleague from Workcred, Roy Swift, who's the executive director. And the Expert Series is all based on certification and credentialing. And Roy, welcome to the Expert Series for 2025.
I couldn't be more excited for 2025 for the world of certification. It is evident every year, and particularly as the workforce is moving at such a fast rate with emerging technologies, that the ability to have industry certifications and to upskill and reskill in this country is going to be critical. Today, we are just so lucky to have an individual that represents really the sort of the change of the times, the sort of the integration of IT and audiovisual. And it's Adrienne Knick. She's the senior director of certification at AVIXA. And she's going to be talking a lot about these certifications that are becoming critical. It's interesting that the World Economic Forum recently just talked about how by 2030, everybody's going to have to do something in regard to upgrading the skills, and 30% will be able to do it with no trouble, 30% will have difficulty, and 30% will not have the requisite skills to actually upgrade. And so it is a time of change of where certification is one of the flexible credentials that people can get that gets good wages. So, Adrienne, tell them a little bit about yourself and the organization as a whole, because we're very excited about hearing about the individual credentials that you all represent.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to talk with you about this. So I am the Senior Director of Certification at AVIXA. That stands for the Audiovisual and Integrated Experience Association. And we are a global association, part association, part society. We serve both the individuals who work in that AV space as well as the companies who provide services in that space. And we service the needs of the individuals through certification. We actually have 4 different certifications that focus both on AV and also the convergence of AV and IT.
You know, Adrienne, one of the things I think is so important about the certification process in general is that it really demonstrates people's skill sets rather than just what they know. And your association literally can be for either IT experts that were learning their skill sets with audiovisual, or vice versa, audiovisual people that can integrate with IT people. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. And that's really embodied by our most recent certification. We call it the Audiovisual Network Professional. And that is really geared absolutely towards that. It's a tool to help AV and IT professionals prove their networking skills in each other's space. So of course, you know, the AV professionals, we all know that they know the AV side of things, but this allows them to prove to their clients, potential employers, that they also know how to properly integrate that AV equipment onto the network. And it's the converse for the IT folks. Of course, they know the networking stuff, but now they can prove that they can integrate that audiovisual equipment onto their network properly and provide that experience that their client's looking for.
Now, when you talk about, you have 4 certifications, correct? You're saying?
We do, yes.
Okay. Can you kind of walk me through the certification process?
Absolutely. So we have 4 certifications. 3 of them fall under our CTS program, and that stands for Certified Technology Specialist. Those are primarily AV focused, but they do have IT components because AV equipment is, you know, interacting across networks now. That's just the way the technology has evolved. And so those 3 certifications are kind of like a step ladder program. So we do have the initial one is the General CTS. And that's designed to ensure competence in baseline pro AV skills. And that's where everyone's required to start. So that's their general knowledge base. And then we have two specialty certifications in that program. One called the CTSD, stands for Certified Technology Specialist Design. And that's an advanced certification where people who are wanting to get into designing the AV systems, actually speccing out the equipment, figuring out where it goes in the room, how it interacts with HVAC, plumbing, electrical, all of that. That's a skill set for them. And then we have another specialty certification called CTSI, that's for installation. And that's for the people who want to really be more focused on being in the space, installing the equipment, wiring, and working around all of the logistical concerns that come into play on a large AV installation project. So that's under our CTS program. And then, of course, we have that audiovisual networking professional that I mentioned. That's its own separate program. And that's the one where we have that confluence of AV and IT more integrated into the certification. All four certifications, though, are time limited, which is so important for technical certifications because it does require you to keep up with the technology and keep your skill sets relevant. Being up to date 10 years ago isn't the same as being up to date today.
Right, and everything moves so much faster today, too. What are some of the pre-qualifications people need to have to get some of these certifications?
Well, so for the CTS program, to start with the general CTS, we actually don't really have any pre-qualifications.
Okay.
We don't require you to take any training from us. We don't require that you have any sort of degrees or educational backgrounds because people come into the AV industry from all sorts of places. And, certifications in the industry are a great option for people who maybe higher education wasn't part of their plan. Maybe they started working in the field without any sort of post-secondary education, but they can still prove their skill sets with a certification like the CTS. So for that one, really, you just have to abide by a code of ethics and conduct to start with that one. Now, when we get into those specialized certifications like the CTSD and CTSI, of course, we need to make sure you have that baseline level of knowledge. So you have to have your CTS first before you can take one of those certifications. The Audiovisual Network Professional, though, that's very similar to the CTS. We have no prerequisites for that other than that code of ethics and conduct.
That's the beauty of certifications, Joe. I think that experience is valued. A lot of times we don't value experience as much as we should, and we know that learning occurs just as well and probably stays with people through this learning by doing type of thing, but often it's not recognized as a legitimate element. And certainly there's a trend to try to look at that. But certification is one of the types of credentials that is really important, that takes that into consideration, and that's why sometimes there are no prerequisites as long as you've got some experience that would enable you to answer those questions and have the knowledge and skills. That's the important thing. And the other point that you kind of raising a few minutes ago is that certification, like state licensure, is a lifetime type of credential. In other words, it's something that you can keep forever, but it must be renewed on an ongoing, continuous, systematic manner. Unlike our educational type of credentials, which may fall out of validity very quickly, and there's no way of updating other than you have to go back to school or something of this sort. So those are important characteristics for parents and people thinking about moving in this direction, how flexible it is.
Adrienne, one of the things that I was thinking about when I was preparing for our interview, you and I had talked a little while back, but one of the things I was thinking about is the Sphere in Las Vegas, and how much audiovisual and IT have got to be integrated to make something like that even work.
Oh, absolutely. That was a huge that was a huge venue and a huge undertaking for both industries. I know quite a few people who worked on the Sphere, and it is really a technological marvel, and it is an excellent example of the pinnacle of AV and IT industries coming together and creating something absolutely amazing.
We talk about some of the opportunities in the AV and IT industries and stuff with these certifications. Can you tell me a little bit about what kind of career people can have with these certifications?
Sure. So there are a variety of different jobs that you could hold with these certifications. Um, Job titles are a little fluid between AV and IT, but they fall into a few major categories. The first ones are designers, whether that you be designing network infrastructure or an AV system. And so you're finding those creative ways to bring experiences to life in classrooms, boardrooms, stadiums, concert venues, and basically anywhere that AV exists and people are having experiences. Project managers also find these certifications valuable because they need to keep all parts of those AV projects moving on time and on budget. Installers, and those are the people who are setting up and doing that on-site hands-on problem solving. Live events professionals, those are the tech wizards kind of behind the scenes. So anytime you're in a venue and you're having an amazing experience that involves light and sound, our people are behind that as live events professionals, making sure that goes off without a hitch for you. And then of course, technology managers, they're managing those day-to-day experiences, and you'll find them a lot in corporate environments, boardrooms, and a lot of higher education. So when you're on a high school or college campus and you have that group in charge of making sure the projectors work and making sure that everyone in the back of a large auditorium can hear the professor at the front of the room speaking, that's our people as well.
You've been there, 16 years now. What are some of the changes you've seen where the industry has grown?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So the biggest change is the move from AV being kind of its own separate siloed system and environment to having to integrate and interact with networks, the internet, all of that. I've seen kind of that change happen through my time here. And that's been reflected in the changes to the exam outlines. We update those frequently to make sure that we are up to date as well with the trends in the industry and what people actually need to know. And just seeing that networking knowledge coming into the certification programs for CTS, and talking with the experts and the people out there in the field and learning about what they're doing and how their job changes year over year has been the biggest one. The majority of AV equipment now requires a network to work, whereas 16 years ago it did not. It was its own thing. And now, they're interacting on networks and they're far more customizable and controllable through computer interfaces than they were.
And the industry is even growing. Good. Go ahead, Roy.
I was just curious about, you mentioned high school. Is there any age limit for the certification? I know a lot of high schoolers are really looking at possible careers, as you point out, that do not feel that college is the pathway they want to take. And do you have any restrictions on high schools, and what suggestions would you have for high schoolers thinking about this area?
I think it's a great option for high schoolers who maybe, again, don't have college in their plans or aren't sure, but who enjoy working with technology. We don't have any age requirements for our certification. They are open to anyone regardless of age. And in fact, the AVIXA Foundation has done a lot of work in this space. So AVIXA, we are the association. We also have a charitable foundation as part of us as well. And that foundation works primarily on workforce development. And we have done work in both the college and high school space to help people come into this industry and bring a younger, newer generation into the industry and make sure they know what's a viable career path. We also offer education. We are the primary source of audiovisual education. And we make that available to students both in high school and college through student memberships. And our foundation has done work with high schools and college, especially community colleges, to create audiovisual programs for them that brings them through education to prepare for a certification, and actually they can culminate their education with taking the CTS. And so they go out into the workforce with a good background, and a certification ready to compete in the job market.
That is terrific news. Joe, one of the trends in credentialing today is the embedding of certification into degree pathways. The educational community is really under pressure more to demonstrate their outcomes. That not only do they complete their degree, but do they get a good job, and does it lead to a successful career pathway? And one of the things that the employers really like is that the certification gives legs many times, because the employers will say, well, you're telling me what the student knows, but I want to know what the student can do. They make a big
Right.
difference between the words know and do. And certification becomes the legs of the do. And even in a degree pathway, and we think that the combination and the integration of this is the forward future of credentialing.
You know, we've been talking about high school and college, et cetera, but this would, I would think, would fit into a junior college or a community college program in really, really well for people, because it just seems like the atmosphere and the conditions would be really good. What do you think, Adrienne?
Oh, absolutely. And we're already in those spaces.
Okay.
We've got education and community college partners across the U.S. Where we are already in those spaces, and we've helped them create audiovisual programs or career tracks in those spaces already. We've got Pace University, the Sheffield Audio Institute, the Loop Lab, just to name a few, Diablo Valley College in California. So we are in those spaces already, and we're hoping to continue and grow that work.
You know, we talked about this certification process. How long does this take, basically time-wise, to get these certifications?
It's really up to the individual, as far as how long it takes them to prepare. The certification itself is pretty, I guess I'll say, quick, because the certification itself is, of course, a computer-based exam. And so, you can expect to spend about 3 hours at a testing center to take the exam, all told. It's the preparation to get you there, though, that can take that time. And that does depend on the individual. AVIXA, of course, offers robust prep courses for our certifications, because we want to make sure people have, the best experience possible. And those certification classes can take as little as 3 days. AVIXA, as part of our industry support and outreach, we host trade shows all over the world. A big part of that trade show experience is also education and certification exams. And so we offer on-site prep courses that take 2.5, 3 days. So, it can be as quick as that if you've got a decent amount of actual physical real world experience. Take a class, make sure you know what you don't know, and then go ahead and challenge the exam.
Do you see a lot of veterans getting in this industry, Adrienne?
Yes, there are a lot of people who come from, a service role, and then as they transition out of that, AV is a good career opportunity for them. And our certification programs are also approved under the GI Bill. So we do have a lot of veterans who transition into this industry.
You know, during the pandemic, there's a lot of people that lost their jobs from whatever reasons, et cetera, and had to change midstream. Did you see a lot of a bump in people getting certifications in AV because of the pandemic?
Yes. So the AV industry was kind of interestingly hit by the pandemic, because, of course, a big part of what we do is experience. People weren't having that many in-person real world experiences during the time. So our industry took a hit there. But our industry also recognized that it was a great time to focus on making yourself competitive in the job market. And so in order to help people do that, AVIXA actually made all of our education free, regardless of membership level. It was free to the general public when the pandemic happened, to help support the industry and support people who maybe had to find a new role because their experience-focused role was no longer available to them. And so we did see a huge influx of people getting educated and then getting certified when COVID happened.
That's very interesting because a lot of times, the pandemic, as bad as it was, it really opened some other doors for people that they wouldn't have normally seen. If you had some advice to give somebody that wanted to get into the AV business and industry, what would you give them, Adrienne?
I would say don't be afraid to jump in. It's a incredibly broad technical industry, but the individuals are very welcoming, and there is something for everyone in AV. Whether you like working with your hands and you like playing with the gear and the toys, or if you are interested in solving the logical problems of how Part A fits with Part B, or how you're going to work around that pesky HVAC system that you wish would have been installed 20 feet to the left. There is something for you. You don't need to have a college degree to come in. You just need to have a desire to learn, and a desire to create amazing experiences for people.
Yeah, and you might mention the salary range, because people say, "Oh, well, it's nice to be an audiovisual, but do they make any money?" You know.
Yes, they do make money. It depends on where you land, but definitely the AV industry is an excellent industry for, baseline solid middle class income, and then moving up from there. Of course, certification helps you with that as well. We have a robust market research department, market intelligence department here at AVIXA, and so we track the compensation of people in our industry to make sure that they're doing well and to make sure we know how we can help them be successful. I will say that certification helps with that a lot. Our 2024 compensation report showed that earning a CTS certification, so your general baseline, that bumped you up an additional 4% in your salary expectations. Getting the installation certification bumped you up 10%, and design certification bumped you up 19% as of 2024. 20% of people also reported landing a new job as a result of getting certified, and then significant percentages also reported additional bonuses and promotions as a result of earning certification. So there is definitely ample opportunity.
You know what's so interesting about that too is it's so broad. Go ahead, Roy. I'm sorry. I was going to say, Adrienne, that the nice thing about the whole AV industry is it's so broad, like you mentioned. I mean, the spectrum is just almost endless.
Yes, and it's really whatever you're interested in. If you love concerts, you love live events, you love that human experience, that's there for you with the live events professionals. I have a lot of volunteers who, when they're not volunteering for us, they're on the road with some amazing live acts, helping create those unforgettable experiences with them. Then there are some people who want something quieter, and so they devote themselves to making sure that students have everything they need to be successful and learn, and make sure that they have access to the resources they need in order to continue their education, especially if they need accessibility as part of their educational process. So there is absolutely something for everyone in the AV space.
Well, I'll tell you something. I couldn't be more happy with opening my expert series for 2025 with you, Adrienne, and of course with you, Roy. Could you tell my audience right now, Adrienne, how people can get hold of you and who should call you? And then after she finishes, would you please talk a little about Workcred, Roy?
Absolutely. So if you are interested in the AV industry, interested in getting certified, we would love to help you with that. The easiest way is to reach us. You can reach us through our certification email address. That's just certification@avixa.org. That will connect you with either myself or someone on my team, and we can answer all of your certification questions. You can also just give us a call if you want, and you can reach us at 703-273-7200. And of course, if you want to check out the website first before you make that phone call, our website is just avixa.org.
Okay. And Roy, just tell people how they can get a hold of Workcred if they'd like to.
Certainly, if you're interested in certifications in general, and maybe this one doesn't fit you or something, but you want help in sort of trying to sort out, there are over 8,000 certifications in this country, supposedly. Some are good, some are bad, some are ugly. but we, in general, are able to help you do it, and it's rswift@workcred.org, and happy to help you out.
Adrienne, thanks once again for introducing yourself to my expert series and giving us all that valuable information. And Roy, it's good to see you as usual. And thank you all out there for joining me for the expert series, and we'll see you the next time.
Thank you, Joe, and Adrienne.
Thank you.